What is going on, YouTube? Bruised here once again in a rare situation. I'm sitting down. So welcome. This is the dual strike of ambidexterity Slayer that I have going on this league. Level 95, double fisting dudes, because you're just whacking dudes, You're both your weapons. It's level 95. This guy has been very, very cruisy, very strong, and has been a lot of fun to play. So I wanted to do quick guide on him, just quick showcase as well, just to have a little bit of fun. Because like I've been saying in my last video as well, I have had some serious build ADHD where I was jumping around between a bunch of characters, and then finally I managed to settle on this guy and was having a lot of fun. So we're just I'm gonna show just a map. Just a very quick map, and then incandescent invitation. Searing Exarch, right. I'll show a Searing Exarch kill as well. I forgot to not do Searing Exarch on this map because I don't need altars anymore. Thankfully, I'm finally done with that challenge this league. But I'm just gonna try to go as fast as possible, so I'm not gonna show up. I'm not gonna go juice the map or anything like that either. But I will just still clear the map as much as I can. But yeah, this guy is a ton of fun. Oh boy. Alright, well, I will not aggravate the ritual because again, I'm trying to show things off, so I don't want to take too horribly long. I can't wait for this to be a piston death as well to really show it off. Yeah, this character has been a really good time. Very cruisy, very surprisingly fast and effective. I have never done anything with dual strike in the past, so I had no idea what to expect going into this. But it has been a very, very solid character overall, honestly. It's been a very solid character. Realistically, the main reason as well that I even decided to try it was that I like trying strike skills. I still haven't done all strike skills yet, actually. But I really like strike skills, and as far as melee goes, I definitely have more of a strike enjoyer. Another thing is the axe that I have on to probably go over when you get to the gearing section. But the axe in my own is very good, and it's probably one of the luckiest random draft hits I've had in a long time. This guy has also done flawless. Done a flawless breachstone. It was flawless socks breachstone, just because I needed to do something. I wanted to do soft just because it's easy and very quick. So or at least it's easier than the rest of them. So I gave that a go, and this character actually managed to clear it very, very comfortably. So that was a nice little surprise as well, because I've never had a character that was able to clear that, or maybe I have, and I just haven't really tried because they're also super expensive to try. But I mean, yeah, as you can see right there, I was cursed with Enfeeble. I had a bunch of other stuff going on right there, and overall, I just literally just ran through and just crushed the entire map. Everything just pops into cold explosions for the most part. It's a very clean-cut kind of build as far as that goes. Now we'll just do quick Searing Exarch as well, and then I'll start getting into the actual gearing, just so you can kind of see like a boss in versus that. Also because I have the invitations. I have a boss ready to go. I might as well do it. Also, no, not Ubers, because I am not an Uber doer. I actually did. I've tried Ubers out this league more than I usually do. No. Oh, he's so close. Oh, this is gonna be back-to-back ball phase, isn't it? Actually, no, this looks kind of fast, so I think this is actually gonna be a skip ball phase 1. That was a rare skip ball phase 1. Okay, I leap slammed into that. Leap slam is one of those unfortunate things that does not go through ball phase. Would need something like flame dash. Tower shield. I think it's literally the first shield I've seen. I think every time I've killed him so far this league has always been the stupid stat. But anyway, As you can see, it's still good as far as bosses go. You can make it stronger, but it's still decent as far as bossing goes. But you can definitely do better. But as far as mapping goes, it is very, very smooth for sure. Ooh, excuse me. So with that, we can go over the character himself. So I have some expensive gear set up. I have some not very expensive gear set up. So first things first, we'll just go through what I have socketed in all my weapons and all that kind of good stuff, and then we'll take it from there. So in the main hand here, I have this is just Assassin's Mark with Mark on hit and life tap. Obviously, Assassin's Mark, very good when you're doing crit-based things. If I had enough intelligence, I'm not smart enough. If I had enough intelligence, then I would be using level 20 Assassin's Mark. I do not have enough intelligence, and I probably won't be even building into it necessarily. I could probably get it elsewhere with like a jewel, or I could probably put either with a jewel or like this, making this cluster have intelligence on it. There are ways to probably get the necessary intelligence. I'm just not gonna try to route and worry about that. But yeah, so we have Assassin's Mark on hit, life tap, just so we don't have to worry about mana. Helmet here, Hatred, Enlighten, plus Herald of Ice and Precision here. And then off here in the weapon, we have a cast and damage taken, Molten Shell, also with life tap, so again, I don't have to worry about mana. Although I think I actually have enough mana unreserved right now to where I could actually drop the life tap and it would still be okay. Yeah, it costs 25, so that would actually still be okay. And then boot-wise, we've just got the usual setup here: Ancestor War Chief, Ancestor Protector, multiple totems, and this is a Bone Chill support. That could probably be like Hypothermia or something. And then in the gloves here, we have faster attacks. Oh yeah, this is just Defiance Banner with Leap Slam and then Culling Strike. Culling Strike doesn't really matter. I just couldn't think of something else to stick in that slot. Realistically, I don't even need the faster attacks either, but I just kind of needed something to fill out these two, and so I just went with that. But you can fill that in with just about anything. And then as far as Dual Strike itself goes, we have Dual Strike of Ambidexterity here. We have it attached to actually one of my favorite support gems when it comes to strike skills, which is Behead support. I'll kind of go over that a bit later. We have Multi-Strike, of course, Ice Bite, Awaken melee damage with attack support, and Awaken added cold damage support. We're doing as much cold damage as we possibly can. And that is what we have all set up here. And the reason as well, while I'm doing Behead, you could easily change this into let's see, you could change this into Ruthless support if you want to keep things a bit more consistent, or you could change it to, I think, increased critical damage. We are basically at crit cap when Bottled Faith is up and enemies are standing on the consecrated ground. So we're pretty much at crit cap, so you could do increased critical damage support if you want to. Personally though, for me, Behead support is actually one of my absolute favorite support gems that's in the game. Mostly due to the fact that you get a mini headhunter thing when you kill rares in maps. You steal one of the enemy's modifiers, which is just a lot of fun. And then the other thing is that you deal a bunch of damage more when targets are on low life. Well, enemies are on low life when they're at half life, right? So you can see right there, probably with the Searing Exarch as well, that when his life bar hit half, he started getting chunked down a lot faster, and that's because of Behead support. Behead does a ton of damage once you get to that break point of that full life. So personally, I like running around with it. You don't have to. Again, you could change things up if you want it to be more consistent. You just grab a Ruthless, grab a increased crit damage, whatever you want to do. But yeah, and then Ice Bite is just because I actually am kind of stacking some Frenzy Charges. I don't have all of the Frenzy Charges because there's one up here that's too far to get. Yeah, there's one up there that's just too far to get. So you could reasonably also drop this. Or you could also replace this with increased critical damage if you wanted to. I just had never done anything with Ice Bite before, so I wanted to do something with it, and it also makes your frenzy generation a bit more consistent because I don't have an easy way to get frenzy charges outside of the Mark mastery over here. So With that, we'll kind of roll into the weapons, and also I'll kind of talk about early game a little bit before rip that guy. Early game before also you get to this point. Let me pull a few things here as examples. Where are they? There we go. So in the main hand, so something actually, first thing, something to keep in mind with Dual Strike of Ambidexterity is that you deal 70% more damage with your main hand, which is this one, in this case Paradoxica, and you use your offhand weapon attack time, so in this case the axe. So what you really want to do is have a weapon in your main hand that just deals a lot of damage. Again, Paradoxica here, and this is where the other examples come in handy. Paradoxica here, all of your attacks with the weapon deal double damage, so it is a very good option to do. Very good option to use. And it's probably the best option that I can think of in your main hand. But the other options are good, or at least that are good until you grab yourself a Paradoxica, or if you just want to run these in general, would be Frost Breath, because attacks with this weapon deal double damage to chilled enemies. Guess what? We're doing cold damage, everything is chilled, therefore this is always doing double damage, so also a very good option. Nothing wrong with taking Frost Breath, especially for the early game. And the other option is Verenostra. Verenostra just has some really decent damage attached to it as is, and it also counts as all one-handed melee weapon types, which then allows you to spec into other things on the tree, so you could spec into some of the axe nodes, or like the axe node over here, and it will still get those bonuses as well. But something to note about this skill that I learned as well is that for Verenostra, you can't use Verenostra and another sword. Like, I couldn't use Verenostra and Paradoxica, not that I'd want to. But as you can see, right now I can use Dual Strike. If I switch on Verenostra, I cannot. The line at the top that says one-handed sword trumps the counts as all one-handed melee weapon types. So you can't use Verenostra and a different sword. It has to be an actual full different weapon type. I thought I could get around with that, do a little bit of cheeky stuff with that, but unfortunately you can't. You have to use a different weapon type. But yeah, those are good options as far as your main hand goes. Again, I think Paradoxica probably the best option to use once you are able to get to the point that you can use it. But like I said, Frost Breath, Verenostra, very good options in the background. And then my axe here that I was talking about. This was I just bought the fracture base, and then I just alt spammed it until it got to increased attack speed, which happened to just hit tier 1. And then I regal orbed it, and it happened to hit global crit strike multi T1. And so I went, oh, well, I guess I'm using this thing now. So overall, very solid weapon. As you can see, attacks per second 1.9. This can go faster. I could, if I got tempering orb, I believe, you can get speed modifiers are increased, so then I think that would push it to almost 2 attacks a second. But the other option is if you were to use something like a claw, you can get faster. And so I think if you were you could also do this as a raider, not necessarily a slayer. You could do this as a raider, and if I were to do it as a raider, I would actually take claw nodes probably. Go with claw, probably take Nightblade. Yeah, do skill supported, have an increased effect of elusive. I'd probably run Nightblade instead of something else in this setup. I'd use a claw on the offhand, which probably would then push attacks per second to 2, or maybe a little over 2. But would probably still try to use Paradoxica in the main hand. If not Paradoxica, probably Verenostra. And yeah, I think that's what I would do if I was a raider. But as this guy, I really liked the axe. I thought it was cool. I felt like I got really lucky with it, so I decided to just roll with it, and it overall is a very solid weapon. Yeah, and then let's see, helmet-wise here, we just have a regular old helmet. It just has increased intelligence, some accuracy, some life, some resistances, increased attack damage, and reduced mana cost of attacks. If you feel like you're running low on mana reservation efficiency, you can actually, the increased attack damage, which is Eater of Worlds there, can roll to mana reservation efficiency instead. I am not really running low on mana right now, so I am just using that. And then we're using the Pandemonious in our amulet slot, just because chills enemies for us, which again is even easier. blinds enemies for us, which is also good because of a passive we have on the tree. And then also we penetrate 24% cold res against chilled enemies. It's only 24% because I have the elemental damage quality on this. Ring-wise, you could... This is an option that I'm doing just because I think it's pretty cool. Using Mark of the Elder for added cold damage to attacks, some additional life as well, and then also increase attack damage if the other ring is a Shaper item. We actually don't need to worry about being stunned by attacks because of being Slayer, so we actually don't care about being stunned. So we can focus purely on attack damage. The ring over here, unfortunately, rolled really bad. It unfortunately did not roll well. But I just awakened or orbed it, and I'm not crazy about trying to do it again. But I took the Shaper modifier of added cold damage against chilled or frozen enemies. It also rolls on Redeemer. And I took the cursed enemies with Frostbite unhit from Redeemer, smashed them together. Unfortunately, this is the end result. It's not fantastic. It's okay. It has resistances on it at the very least. I gave it credit there, and it had a suffix for me to craft more res on it. But it could definitely be a lot better. Realistically, I don't even think... You don't even necessarily need to run Mark of the Elder if you didn't want to. You could easily run... you could easily just run 2 rare rings, just split these up or something, or just run 2 Redeemer rings, have one with Frostbite and one with added cold damage against chilled or frozen enemies. And I think you'd either wind up with the same, roughly the same damage, or maybe a little bit under, but it would still be totally fine. And then chess piece wise, this is the good old-fashioned Hunter chess piece. Unfortunately, I actually probably should re-roll this entire thing, but I am much too lazy to do that. I will probably at least roll I'll probably re-roll the prefixes, because the prefixes ain't great. But as per usual, all that you do with these, I'll just kind of go over this really quick. Get yourself a Hunter chess piece, throw it into your Hordecraft, your Harvest, reroll with crit over and over until you get attacks have crit chance, and then just lock suffixes on your crafting bench, come back over here and reroll Reforge with Caster. That will guarantee you can apply an additional curse. But something to note about that is that you do need to have all of your suffixes filled, so if you don't have 3 suffixes, make sure you fill your suffixes. Slam it with an Exalted Orb, whatever you gotta do. Make sure you have 3 suffixes, because otherwise you can hit spell crit as well in your suffix slot, and that will brick the additional curse, or you'll have to spend another 2 divines if you don't care. But yeah, all I really cared about was the attack crit and the additional curse. Unfortunately, Fizz damage taken from hits as chaos damage is not good, and that's why I should reroll this, because I do not have good chaos resistance on this character. But yeah, glove-wise, we just have some standard... These are some cold conversion gloves. These are the Temple mod gloves. So it just has life resistances, some armor, added cold damage with the Fizz damage conversion to cold. And then I just slammed some Fizz damage, converted the cold on it, and a chance to intimidate enemies, because intimidating is good. They take more attack damage. I would say this is probably very good for like a mid-range. If you really, really wanted to get super strong with it and really wanted to push this character, what you probably do is the Giga Glove, where you take a non-Vol strike skills, target 1 additional enemy from Hunter, and you awaken or orb slam that with the +1 max frenzy mod from Warlord. And you kind of just hope that it hits something really good. It can hit increased melee damage as well from Warlord. So that would be an even bigger glove that you can do. Also, Hunter, if you elevate the non-strike skill Hunter mod, you can... Then it targets 2 nearby enemies, and you can actually get rid of this notable here and switch it out for probably meters to strike range. Monsters can't block your attacks, would probably be the 2 that I would potentially go for instead. But yeah, this glove overall completely fine as is, does what it needs to do. Here though, this is a micro distillery belt. You don't need to use this, I will say. Let me preface that by saying you don't need to use this kind of belt. I just happened to drop one and I split beasted it. And sold the other half. But I just decided I was going to use it because I dropped it. They buffed this recently, and with the new tinctures, you just get a free 30% increased flask effect on the other 4 that you can use. So I just went, why not? I dropped it. Let's do it. That sounds fun. So I'm just using this belt here. It has good life. It has the strength, which I actually needed strength. Has resistances, and then I just crafted daily damage attack skills. Decent belt overall, nothing wrong with it. I can't complain. And then, if you weren't to use this though, I actually would use probably just a Stygian. Probably just use a Stygian Vice if you're going to, if you didn't want to go this route. Just use a Stygian plus a Murderer Side Jewel or something. Boot-wise, Relic Catcher's Impatience, actually very huge for this build. Specifically because of the Slayer Ascendancy. So you just always count as having your max number of charges. That does not mean that you can expend any of those charges, but you always just count as having those. So you always count as having max for the sake of Slayer, and for the sake of this note here, Masterful Form, you count as always having max endurance charges as well as max frenzies, which we have, I think, 6. So we count as always having 6 frenzies and 6. Yep, there we go. Endurance charges, 6. Frenzy charges, 6. So yeah, and we always count as also having 3 power charges. Very good. And then flask-wise, pretty standard stuff. We have a Granite Flask, Quicksilver Flask. If you were to focus on bossing a bit more, you could probably actually swap the Quicksilver for a Silver Flask. And then Bottle of Faith here. Not entirely. It's very strong. Is it critical to the build? No. You can replace it with something else. But you probably replace it with Wise Oak even. Just make sure your cold res is the highest thing, which it is for me right now. And just put Wise Oak here. Wise Oak could also be good. Penetrate a lot of damage. Tincture wise, all damage can shock, I think, is a very big deal for this build. If you don't have lightning damage anywhere else, then we just are able to create shocks this way, which is very strong. This one is meters to strike range, just because that makes this feel much more comfy when you're able to hit things from much further away. And then cover enemies in frost, which covering enemies in frost makes them take more increased cold damage, and they deal 50%. They have a 50% less critical strike chance, which is very nice. Makes things actually much less likely to crit you, and so that you don't just die randomly as you're hanging around. So you could also do a tincture that has strike range and chance to generate, chance to generate rage. I think I have one. At least has the rage mod, so yeah, there we go. 11% chance to gain 1 rage when you hit a rare unique enemy. You could definitely do that. It does go a lot higher than 15% even. It goes to tier 1. I can't remember. It's like 20% something. I don't remember. Either way, there are different options here, but this is just the one I like the most. Again, we're doing cold damage, so it just felt like for me, since it lasts for this one lasts for 7 seconds, which is just tier 2, so that could go higher. But for me, what I liked is because essentially I feel like I would cover them in frost for the first half of the fight, which then makes me deal more cold damage to them, and then usually by the time those 7 seconds are up, depending on the boss or whatever I'm fighting, by the time those 7 seconds are up, then usually they're at about half health, and then Behead support kicks in instead, and so then I'm dealing a bunch more damage because of Behead support. So that's why I like just running that. Very quickly, Ascendancy wise, we are going Slayer, of course, as I was saying. If you were to level with this character personally, I did, let's see, I'm pretty sure I did Overwhelm first, Brutal Fervor, Endless Hunger, and then Masterful Form. Bane of Legends and Headsman are always extremely strong, and I would love to take them, but unfortunately, Endless Hunger is just so comfy, and Overwhelm is such a big deal because it also gives enemies less crit multi, which is, again, better even with the covering them in frost too. And Masterful Form is also just good because I'm using Ice Bite, and also because the endurance charges are unironically making up a good portion of the resistances for me. So Masterful Form also very big. If I got a Forbidden Flesh and Flame for Bane of Legends, that'd be nice, but that is extremely expensive, and so I cannot really recommend it. But as far as Wildwood Ascendancy, I just went with Warden, of course, because I needed to take tinctures. So Coated Blade, and then Nature's Concoction gives the flask adjacent to it one additional, or gives him flash charges, so it just makes your Ball of Faith a bit more consistent. And then I took Detect Evil. Detect Evil is just very cozy, and it is very nice. You just kind of see all the rares and uniques on your map. They can't block your attacks or suppress them. Feels nice. And then I took Barkskin because I really wanted to try it out, and Barkskin is quite strong. But if you didn't want to run Barkskin, you could actually drop this and run something like Arctic Armor, or if you really wanted to, you could probably drop Herald of Ice and not run like Barkskin or Arctic Armor. You could just drop Herald of Ice and probably fit in Determination or Grace, whichever one you wanted to. And that would probably work best. But I personally think that it gives quite a lot of armor as is. Like if I have my flask, I'm at 67% base. If I have my flask up, I'm at 90 with 10 stacks of Barkskin. So it's actually quite a sizable buff. It's a pretty good skill gem, and I really just wanted to try it out. But again, if you didn't want to run this, you could run Intensifying Suffusion, and then what you'd probably do is if you're running a Stygian Vice, you'd just drop one of these flasks, probably just drop the Quicksilver, as unfortunate as that is to say. Probably just drop the Quicksilver, and then just put this like here, and then just have those, and then have a 75% increased effect of the flask, and it'd be really, or the tincture, it'd be really good. Yeah. So that is the Ascendancies. The tree here, pretty standard stuff. Taking Vol Pact because we're life leeching with endless hunger and all that kind of good stuff. Very strong. And then we're just making our way. This is the blind node I was talking about, so increased critical strike chance against blinded enemies. This little blind wheel right here is actually very, very comfy. And we're taking here for the cold mastery. We're converting some damage to cold, penetrating some damage, pulling strike against marked enemies, getting frenzy charges. We got the dual strike. We got the dual wielding mastery over here. Increased damage while wielding 2 different weapon types. Guess what? We have to wield different weapon types with this skill. So that is just free damage right there. That's free real estate. More dual wielding here. The axe mastery here for gaining rage on hit. No more than once a second, so it's pretty slow build, but in those longer fights or in maps where you're able to just zoom through packs the whole time, this will you'll see your rage is building very, very steadily. So, yeah, very good. And then we have a Brutal Strength here, Asana, which I think, let's see, what does it give? Poison, that doesn't matter. Fizz is extra, general critical strike chance, increased LA damage, evasion rating, more fizz is extra, more elemental damage. So just more damage stacked on top of stuff. I think there are decenter, not a word. There are potentially better ones, potentially at least similar ones. But yeah, that's a pretty good jewel right there. Taking Cloth and Chain, again, like I said, I actually really needed resistances on this character, so I actually needed this. Decent, it's a decent passive regardless. And then we're coming over here, of course, taking the reservation. The Tribal Fury here is a very comfy, very, very comfy wheel. And then we're taking the non-vol strike skills, target 1 additional nearby enemy. Like I said, if you make the bigger gloves, then you could take the meters to strike range, or monsters can't block your attacks. That's up to you. Taking Fortify here. Fortify is very nice. And then just Bloodless, just to have more life. But the Fortify is very nice. We're very consistently at max Fortify. Let's see. Nothing else too out of the ordinary. This is the hits have 25% chance to treat monster elemental resistances as inverted. Just good, bit more damage. Basic jewel slot here is probably something I would take with a few more levels, most likely. And then the jewel slot, the actual large cluster here we have. I took I actually just crafted this randomly. Fuel the Fight, Insatiable Killer, Martial Prowess. So Fuel the Fight is just Mana Leech. If you didn't have one that had this, I think this exact jewel with these 3 is like 2 divines, last I looked. So if you didn't have that kind of money, or you weren't able to craft this, you could just take Life and Mana Leech, this little wheel right here, instead. Just drop a point somewhere else, or do whatever else you have to. Like, ignore this for now. Take this, and then just fill this out with whatever else you need. But I have Fuel the Fight, more attack speed, damage while leeching. We're leeching all the time, gives us mana as well, so I didn't have to worry about that point. Insatiable Killer, there are better options here, but more attack speed, damage while dual wielding. Of course we are, and then Frenzy Charge on dual wielding. And Martial Prowess, just a very solid one. Damage, attack speed, accuracy, elements. And then our medium here that I'm taking has Chaos Res. Oh, actually, I should exalt this at some point too. Anyway, Basic Pain, Quick Getaway. Basic Pain, more move speed, crit chance, attack cast speed. And Basic Pain is just more damage and more crit chance. This little jewel here is just a bunch more added damage and some life. And yeah, that's more or less the character. I was just kind of speed running through this. As per usual, I will have the path building in the description below if you're interested and want to take a look. And I'll have all the boxes checked for this character. But if you have any questions, let me know. I usually try to answer as fast as I can. But otherwise, this is another quite successful character. Like I said, he did Flawless Breachstone. He's been really cruising through maps, has really just been clearing out all content. Like, his life total looks really low, but he is surprisingly thick because of fortification, because of bark skin, because of everything else. He's a surprisingly thick character for how low his life total is. But character's a ton of fun. Like I was saying, I hope you have, and I hope you've been having a lot of fun with the Affliction League. Again, let me know if you have any questions. Always happy to help. Hope you've been enjoying Affliction. It's been a ton of fun. I've been having some serious build ADHD and have just been making characters left and right. And hopefully I'll have another character, another build, or a follow-up or something coming up soon. But otherwise, have a great rest of your day. Hope have a great rest of the league. Enjoy yourself.